Cadora AI, employee experience evangelists, do an amazing job aligning AI and humans. I'm really excited by some of the topics that we've got lined up.
I hear AI, well, they're quite overwhelmed. It's everywhere at the moment.
Great. So welcome to the studio today. For those that don't know, Vanessa is from Employee Experience Evangelists, EXEV. She's doing an amazing job aligning AI and human. Now tell me about your business and what you're doing.
Thank you, Theodore. It is a bit of a mouthful, but once you get down to the core, it's really about helping take employees on the journey with AI. So I don't necessarily touch tools or technology, but looking at the behaviour, culture, how you can support your people to embrace AI in the workforce.
Amazing. For those that don't know, I'm Fiddle Panagakis. I lead Cadora AI. Vanessa and I have come from a technology background, so we deliver solutions and consulting services. But one thing that we don't do well, which is why Vanessa's here, is that human-centered approach. That's what we're going to be talking about today. I'm really excited by some of the topics we've got lined up. Coming back to the enterprise, what does the future look like for the end user and corporate culture? With the advent of new agents, with large language models, with chatbots and agents that can orchestrate a lot of manual processes, less need for a human to be in the loop. Leaders are going to have to redesign their organisation a little bit differently. And we haven't seen that yet here in Australia, but I would say that could come soon, would it not?
Definitely. At the moment, AI efforts are segmented and divisions are running off. They're looking at technology in their space and they're not looking at a whole organisation view. So where we help is get the data and people insights, but also look at across the whole organisation, what are the opportunities where you can augment, automate, and then where you want to keep particular tasks human, and looking at economies of scale. So not just having a solution in one area, but if this is fit for purpose for HR, can we alter this for our legal and compliance team or our tech team and start to leverage the technology rather than just adding on to our tech stack?
Yep.
The second thing I'm seeing is starting to look at role redesign. So no longer are the traditional job descriptions, especially about admin and coordination. You'll start to see more language and role descriptions around working with technology to help augment, automate processes, AI enablement, becoming deep specialists in particular spaces to help train agents and models.
Yeah. So maybe that is the answer, is that in job description, you're going to have to know how to build AI agents.
Or it will be more skill and mindset based. Can you automate or look for particular gaps in systems or opportunities for innovation?
My view on this is I could see two big things happening. At the moment, we're starting to see some trends. The federal government has announced they would like to see chief AI officers appointed in every federal government agency. That will happen in 2026. And those leaders will be the throat to choke, the single person responsible for AI across that agency. I think the next wave beyond that, once that gets established, is that we'll start to see the appointment of AI champions in individual teams. So I mentioned HR, legal, operations, finance, treasury, etc. There will be a AI expert embedded in those teams, and their sole responsibility would be to sit 5 days a week with their team members to work out how to better utilise AI.
100%.
I think that's where it's. And then we go one step further. We do a lot of work with the transport logistics industry, and that includes the carriers as well. Then I think to myself, okay, well, truck drivers. Truck drivers won't be educated on how to use AI when they're out in the field doing a delivery or moving from a delivery to a warehouse. I think they themselves will be AI champions. This leads to what we call the AI-Centric organisation, where the entire organisation has AI embedded, whether it be from a training or technology and governance perspective across every part of the organisation, and the employee themselves become the AI champions. Now that's way ahead thinking, because right now we're meeting with a lot of people, customer organisations, and they can barely spell AI, let alone know how to adopt it. But you mentioned an interesting point, is that those individuals, their job roles are going to be redesigned.
The other trend I'm seeing across industries all around portfolio careers, so eventually full-time workforce is going to reduce. A lot of people will be having various income streams and have specialist knowledge and will be working across multiple organisations to help build agents on a contract or part-time basis within their space. So we're definitely going to shift, and same with the workforce structure. With any significant change like that, including displacement, you have to support employees on that journey as well.
Yeah, that's true. It's really, really interesting.
Let's talk about it. Job cutting, redundancy, it's a tight market at the moment. That's creating more fear and resistance, especially with organisations labelling the job cuts due to AI, which I think can be quite controversial because we're not seeing organisations with AI across the board. So I always try and say, when you're embedding AI or working with it, look at how you can shift your people to meaningful work. Make sure you're actually mobilising your workforce first.
Yeah, I think if you're more resistant to AI in an organisation, if a redundancy occurs, you would probably be the first target in terms of being asked to move out. If you're all in on AI and you embrace it and you champion it in your area, you would probably be more highly valued as an employee.
That's twofold, because there's currently an employer versus employee standoff. Culture Amp recently released articles all around this. If you don't embrace and engage your employees, there's potential risks of your employee relation cases, and there's new psychosocial safety laws that have come out that if you don't give employees the chance to speak up without fear of consequences, then you could have some legal issues.
Yeah.
So it's quite a complex environment. But with that employee consultation, if they're still resistant and not adopting AI, then like you said, there's actually no choice if they're not on board and being given the opportunity. Where you'll find yourself in hot water is if you don't give the opportunity, cull the jobs with no reason behind it, that's when we'll start to be seeing the heat across the market.
Yeah, that's right. I think that's where it's going.
And I don't think it's scary. It's an opportunity to help shift from and to meaningful work. No one likes admin. No one likes doing the same thing over and over again. And people do want to learn and grow. We're seeing across industry, especially in employee engagement, the main factor that comes up around disengagement is career opportunities and growth within organisations. This is an amazing time for people to start to look at, on a personal level, how can I embrace this? Where can I go in the future? How can I develop my skills? It's also not just looking at it from a head office or corporate perspective, also looking at your frontline workers, like your truck drivers, your people in storefronts, because they're using AI in their day-to-day lives. Understanding where they would like to see it, or opportunities, especially with customers as well. It's a whole organisation effort. Any project I've ever been involved with that's been successful, I work with comms and marketing teams, business strategy, legal and compliance, and that's what we're going to be seeing.
Yeah, that's true. As you mentioned with the customer, companies have to go down that path of becoming an AI-centric organisation because the customers are going to demand it. The customers are smart too. They will have very high expectations of how services and products are delivered to them. Gen Z, the millennials, they're very technology savvy, and we're going to have a whole generation of individuals that have grown up with AI, and so the expectations for AI being able to deliver products and services is going to increase. Organisations have to be wary of that, right? Otherwise the customer will just walk in and go buy from a competitor.
And if they don't do it now, your employees are going to be doing it anyway. We already know across all organisations, people are using AI. No organisation in its current state is 100% agent ready because they don't have the architecture or infrastructure. That's also where you're going to see your startups and your small businesses rise, because they can build their infrastructure around AI and their culture. Their people are already ready to go. The organisations that have a lot of work to do are your big enterprises in this space.
Big enterprises. And in that end, we are seeing significant traction in the banking and finance space. So we know, Combank, as an example, they're in the newspaper today saying they wanted more AI agents deployed across their organisation, which is great. They're leading the charge. But also in the banking sector, there are those organisations that are still in the conservative bucket. I wonder personally, where's Combank going to be versus where these conservative banks are going to be in 5 years' time?
Definitely. It's not just having the AI strategies embedding it, embracing your people and helping take them on the journey and figuring out what works for you. Because there's going to be projects that don't work or you need to refine, especially with AI, and see where it makes a difference. But like you said, the conservative organisations that don't do anything or do it in isolation, that's where they're going to find resistance.
And my view is that this comes from a top-down approach.
Yes.
That the leaders have to be very in bringing in the employees early on the journey. So you talk about change management, well, that's starting that journey with employees early through communication, through training, through notifications, maybe being part of the design process, the consultation process, and then ultimately the testing process as well when the AI has been deployed to make sure it works. We had an interesting example at Cadora. We built an AI agent for a bank in the customer contact centre. We hit the go live button. The chatbot started working in the contact centre, and we looked at the analytics to see who was using it, and it was a very low uptake rate. So then we went back to the team and said, well, why aren't you using the chatbot? Because we spent months building this. And they said, well, we just don't know how to use it properly. And we put in a few prompts, didn't give the response that we needed, didn't return with the response that they wanted. So we decided not to use it. And they go, well, okay. So it wasn't a technology, it was the training element that we missed, right? It was that culture piece. So then we went back and trained those users on how to put in the correct prompts, how to get more out of the AI, how to use some of the features that they weren't privy to. And then all of a sudden, it went from, say, only 20% used to 80% of the team using it on any given day. And that's just an amazing result. I'll look at that example and then I'll look at some of the research that's been done by the very infamous MIT report that came out a couple of months ago that said many AI projects fail. The headline was, there is actually nothing wrong with the technology, it's how that technology gets in. And then you unpack that a little bit further, it's because they did not bring in the end user into the journey and the project commenced.
I've seen a lot of these stats and reports as well, which is great. There's so much research around the effectiveness of AI. People are a huge core to any successful project. There's two elements. The first is making a culture, especially with AI, safe to fail and to experiment. If things don't work out, it's fine. We don't discard AI. It's looking at where were the pain points, where did we go wrong, what are the lessons learned, how can we actually improve this to make sure that it's successful in the future. And then the second element to it is really looking at, with your projects, what is the effort versus the impact? So there'll be some things that you don't bother introducing AI because the value delivered isn't going to gain any momentum or competitive advantage. And then there's areas in the business that you will look at and go, it might be high effort, but the output and the value of this project is going to be tremendous. So let's aim all our energy on that. That's where organisations are looking at with AI, is what value and the purpose behind the project are we actually going to gain out of
That's
this?
it, yeah. I want to pick up on a really interesting thing that you said. We talked about this separately, that AI for humans, when we talk about that in that context, what we're thinking about is the user in the enterprise. Some clever companies, what they're doing now is that when they're building an AI solution, they're actually bringing in the customer workshops. If you come in and spend a couple of hours with us, to better understand your needs, your requirements, and how you would ultimately use this AI solution in your day-to-day life or work. And that is actually very powerful. Not too many companies that are thinking about it at the moment. So if you're listening to this, bring in the customer in part of the design and development journey. That would be a game changer.
It makes sense because if you combine customer experience, the user experience, and then employee experience all together with AI, you've got the trifecta.
Yeah.
And it's what is being known and what people are doing across industry, but for some reason they're not doing new and emerging tech.
That's right. That's right. So that is a little bit of a differentiator, and I'd say you are right. If you're going to build something, get the end user involved right up front in that design. Before we wrap up, Vanessa, for all the audience members that are watching and listening to you from around the world, how do they get in touch with you if they want to know more about AI and the employee experience?
Awesome. So I run an employee experience design agency, particularly focusing on AI, called Employee Experience Evangelist. Connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm always open to these conversations.
And of course, I'm with Cadora.ai. You can easily find me on LinkedIn as well. Thanks for joining me and the audience today. I think that was an amazing discussion. Really looking forward to hearing the feedback and comments. See you later.